Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. Brenda's family loved throwing big gatherings, and that Sunday felt no different. It was loud, busy, and full of the kind of tension families pretend not to notice. I stayed close to her brother Ethan, mostly because he was the only one who didn't treat every conversation like a competition. We talked about his new truck while people drifted around with plates of food. Brenda looked proud that night. She'd been promoted recently, and her entire family kept bringing it up. I didn't mind. She worked hard for it. I stayed in the background, letting her shine. That was always my role in her family. Quiet, steady, predictable Joseph. When it was time for the toast, her father tapped a spoon on his glass, and everyone settled. He thanked everyone for coming, said something sentimental about family, then handed the moment to Brenda so she could share her promotion news. She lifted her glass and smiled wide, already soaking up the attention. And then she said it. I mean, imagine how far I'd be if I hadn't married Joseph. I regret it every day, she joked, nudging her cousin as if she delivered a punchline. The laughter came fast, loud, nervous, unsure, the type people use when they feel they're supposed to laugh. A few eyes flicked my way, checking my reaction. Brenda waited for me to smile along like I always did. But I saw her face. I saw the truth behind the joke. It wasn't new. She'd been saying things like that for months. So I didn't laugh. I set down my glass and said, steady and calm, "So do I, but I'm fixing that soon. Then you won't have to regret anything." The entire table froze. Brenda's smile collapsed, her eyes going sharp and confused at the same time. "Joseph, what are you talking about?" she whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The silence explained enough. Her regret had finally been returned. I stepped away from the table without another word. I headed toward the side gate, needing a breath of air that didn't taste like embarrassment. Before I even reached the fence, I heard Brenda's heels behind me. "Joseph!" she hissed. "What the hell was that?" I didn't turn. Just honesty. She grabbed my arm and spun me around. Her smile was gone. Her face was tight, panicked. "You embarrassed me in front of my entire family." I kept my voice even. "You embarrassed yourself. I just stopped covering for you." She scoffed, throwing her hands up. "Oh, please. It was a joke. Everyone knew it." "No," I said. "They didn't. And neither did I." For a second, she almost softened. But only for a second. Then her eyes narrowed, the way they did whenever she realized she couldn't control a situation. "You're seriously mad about that? One stupid comment?" I took a step back from her. "It wasn't one comment, Brenda. It's been months of small jabs, little digs, and you calling me a placeholder in your messages with your friend Maddie." Her face drained. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "You're twisting that. I was venting. Everyone vents." "People vent about stress," I said. "Not about feeling trapped. Not about wanting someone more exciting. Not about regretting their marriage every day." She blinked fast, fighting to regain control. "You're being dramatic. Maddie is just a friend. You're blowing this way out of proportion." "I'm not blowing anything up," I said. "I'm just finally acknowledging what you've already made clear." She stepped closer, lowering her voice sharply. "You're not leaving me over a joke and a few messages. That's insane." "I'm leaving because you stopped respecting me a long time ago," I replied. Her breathing went uneven. "You can't do this here. Not at my parents' house." "You had no problem humiliating me here," I said. For the first time in years, she had no comeback. The drive home was quiet. Brenda kept glancing at me like she was waiting for some explosion that never came. She finally broke. "You're really not going to say anything?" she demanded. "There's nothing left to say," I replied. She laughed once, sharp and shaky. "Joseph, come on. I made a dumb joke. You know how my family is. They laugh at everything." "Yeah," I said, "but you meant it." She turned toward the window, voice trembling. "I was stressed. I've been overwhelmed. I didn't think before I spoke." "You've been thinking the same thing for months," I said. "Tonight you just said it out loud." She didn't respond after that. When we reached the house, she walked in first, still talking fast. "We can fix this. We just need to talk it out. We don't need to blow up our life over one mistake." I headed straight to the bedroom. "Joseph, are you even listening?" I pulled open the closet, took down the folder I hid behind the winter coats, and set it on the bed. She froze. "What is that?" Everything you've ignored, I said. Mortgage payments, bills, transfers, all the things I handled while you told Maddie I held you back. Her face twisted. Why do you have all this? Because I knew this day might come. She stared at the documents like they were weapons. So you've been planning to leave me? No, I said. I was preparing in case you made it impossible to stay. And tonight, you did. I grabbed a small duffel bag from under the bed which I'd packed slowly, months ago, after one of her late-night arguments about how she was missing out. It wasn't a plan. It was a warning to myself. Brenda's voice cracked. You're actually going to Michael's? Joseph, this is insane. I zipped the bag. What's insane is how long I tried to hold this together alone. She stepped in front of the door, desperate. Just talk to me. Please, we can fix this. I moved past her gently. Respect comes before repair, and you lost that a long time ago. I walked out of the house without looking back. Brenda didn't follow. For once, she finally understood I meant what I said. My best friend Michael's apartment wasn't big, but it felt like breathing clean air for the first time in a long while. He handed me a spare key, pointed to the couch, and said, "Stay as long as you need." That was all. No interrogation, no judgment, just space, something I hadn't felt in months. The first night, my phone buzzed nonstop. Brenda called 8 times, then switched to texts. We need to talk. You can't just leave like this. Then, minutes later, I'm sorry. Please come home. And soon after, you're ruining everything. I didn't answer any of it. By the end of the second day, the messages didn't slow. They changed tone. Some angry, some begging, some blaming, all chaotic. Meanwhile, I went to work like normal. Ate simple meals, slept better than I had in a year. Silence didn't feel empty. It felt earned. On Wednesday, my friend Alize called. She never took sides, which was why I picked up. Joseph, she said gently, Brenda's telling people you had some kind of breakdown. That doesn't surprise me, I said. She's trying to protect herself. Do you want me to clear things up? She asked. Tell the truth if someone asks, I said. Nothing more. Simple. Controlled. Enough. Brenda didn't like that I wouldn't react. By Friday morning, she showed up at my job. The receptionist buzzed my desk. There's a woman here for you. Says it's urgent. I knew who it was before I even stood up. Brenda was pacing by the entrance, eyes puffy, hair undone, like she hadn't slept. When she saw me, she rushed forward. Joseph, you can't ignore me forever, she said, voice shaking. This isn't the place, I answered. Then where? She stared at me, desperate. You blindsided me with this. Leaving? Packing? Walking out? Who does that? You're my husband. Not for long, I said. I'm filing. Her mouth fell open. You're actually doing it? You made the choice before I ever did, I said calmly. I'm just following through. For a moment, she looked like someone pulled the ground out from under her. The confidence she always carried was gone. Joseph, don't do this, she whispered. But I already had. The first mediation session was set for the following Tuesday. I arrived early, sat in the hallway, and reviewed the documents my lawyer had organized. Everything was clear, simple, factual. No extra emotion, just numbers and proof. Brenda arrived 10 minutes late. She gave me a weak smile, the kind meant to spark old habits. I didn't return it. Inside the conference room, her confidence came back quickly. She straightened her posture, folded her arms, and acted like she had the upper hand. Her lawyer started talking as if Brenda was the wronged one. Given the length of the marriage, he said, Brenda is entitled to a fair portion of the shared assets. We'll be asking for... My lawyer cut in smoothly. Before we discuss percentages, let's establish contributions. He slid a folder across the table. Receipts, transfers, mortgage payments, loan documents. Everything Brenda conveniently forgot. Her lawyer flipped through them, his expression tightening. Brenda frowned. What is all that? The truth, I said. Her lawyer cleared his throat. It appears Joseph covered quite a lot. All of it, my lawyer corrected. He paid for the monthly mortgage, utilities, insurance, and most living expenses. He also financially supported Brenda during her job transition last year. Brenda's mouth fell open. You kept records? I kept the marriage running, I said. The records kept themselves. She looked at me like I was a stranger. So you've been preparing to screw me over? No, I replied. I've been preparing to protect myself. Her lawyer shifted uncomfortably. In light of this, we may need to reconsider our initial request. Brenda stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. Joseph, can I talk to you outside? We stepped into the parking lot. The moment the door closed behind us, her confidence vanished. You can't do this, she said. I made mistakes, but we can fix it. I'll go to counseling. I'll do whatever you want. You had years to choose us, I said. You kept choosing everything but. Tears filled her eyes. So that's it? You're just walking away? I shook my head. I walked away the night you joked about regretting me. Today, I'm just signing the paperwork. Her voice broke. Joseph, please. But I wasn't the man who accepted crumbs anymore. I moved into a small rental on the edge of town a few weeks after mediation. Nothing fancy, one bedroom, older carpet, a kitchen that hummed when the fridge kicked on. But it was quiet, mine, and free of tension. That was enough. I built a routine fast, early morning runs, simple dinners, long hours at work, calls with my sister Grace, who didn't ask for details but always said, just keep your head clear, Joe. I did. Brenda, meanwhile, was unraveling. At first, she kept sending long messages about how we could start fresh and how she'd change everything. When I didn't respond, her tone switched. You're heartless. You destroyed our marriage. I hope you're happy ruining my life. Then came the guilt trips, then the voice notes, then the silence, the most telling part. But silence never lasts forever. One night, Alize called again. Joseph, I think you should know Brenda has been crying to anyone who will listen. She told Meredith you cheated on her. That's a lie, I said, calm as always. I told them, Alize replied. A lot of people know the real story now. Word spread, and the backlash didn't skip her. I heard from Grace that Brenda blew up at her coworkers. Then I heard from Michael that Maddie stopped talking to her completely, probably scared to be dragged into the divorce. Her best friend stopped defending her. Even her mother called me once to apologize for things she never realized. Brenda was losing control of the story she'd built around herself, and she hated that. One Thursday night, while I was cooking, she called again. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. Her voice shook with anger. I swear, Joseph, if you don't renegotiate the settlement, I will make this whole thing ugly. I didn't raise my voice. Brenda, the only thing that gets ugly is the part where your messages become public record. Silence. Heavy, cold silence. You wouldn't, she whispered. You've already underestimated me once, I said. I'm not repeating that mistake. She hung up without another word. The divorce was almost finalized when Brenda asked to meet one last time. She sent a short message. I need closure before the court date. Just 10 minutes. I agreed, mostly because I didn't want any unfinished business hanging over me. We met at a cafe near the main street. Neutral, public, quiet enough for a real conversation. When I walked in, Brenda was already there, sitting alone with a small cardboard box on the table. She looked different. Not polished, not confident, just tired. She didn't smile when I sat down. Thanks for coming, she said softly. What's in the box? I asked. She pushed it toward me. Stuff you gave me. Letters, photos, the watch from our 3rd anniversary. She paused. I didn't touch it. You could have mailed it. I wanted to see you, she said. Without lawyers, without tension. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She stared at her hands, picking at her nails like she was peeling off a version of herself she didn't recognize anymore. I know I messed up, she said finally. I know I hurt you. I know the joke that night wasn't really a joke. Her voice cracked. I didn't realize how far I'd pushed you. You pushed long before that night, I replied. She nodded. I thought you'd always stay, no matter what I said, no matter how I acted. She swallowed hard. I got comfortable being selfish. I didn't argue. I didn't need to. She lifted her eyes. Do you ever miss me? I thought for a moment. I miss who I thought you were, and I miss the man I pretended to be for you. But us? No. Her lips parted like she wanted to cry, but she held it back. I don't blame you, she whispered. Losing you. It's the first thing I've really regretted. I finally picked up the box. Goodbye, Brenda, I said. She nodded once. I hope someone appreciates you the way I didn't. I stood and walked out. She stayed seated, staring at the empty space across from her. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like release, the clean break I'd been waiting for. A few months after that final meeting, the divorce became official. No surprises, no last-minute twists, just signatures, a stamped page, and a quiet moment where I realized a chapter that should have ended long ago was finally closed. I moved into a better place soon after, an apartment near the river. No tension in the walls, no guessing moods, no waiting for another subtle jab disguised as humor. Life got simple. Work, workouts, weekends with Grace and her kids. Michael came by sometimes with pizza and advice I didn't ask for but appreciated anyway. I didn't talk much about the past. There was no point. It was over, and I didn't need it to define me anymore. One Saturday morning, at a bookstore cafe, I met Kiara. She was reading something with a torn cover, drinking tea instead of coffee, and humming like she forgot the world could hear her. We talked briefly about books, then about music, then about nothing important at all. She was easy to be around. No games, no performances, no need to prove anything. We didn't jump into anything fast. A coffee turned into a walk turned into dinner. Simple, steady, real. She didn't know the details of my divorce until weeks later, and when I told her, she didn't react with pity, just quiet understanding. That was enough. One evening as we ate on my balcony overlooking the water, Kiara said, "You seem calm, like someone who finally stopped carrying something heavy." I smiled. I did. Later, after she left, my mind drifted back to that dinner at Brenda's parents' house. The joke, the laughter, the silence afterward. That was the moment everything snapped into place, when I stopped being the man who tolerated disrespect just to keep the peace, the moment I said, "So do I," and actually meant it. People think freedom comes when you walk away, but real freedom shows up the moment you stop explaining yourself to someone who never planned to listen. And for the first time in years, I felt completely, unquestionably free. Thank you for watching.